consider to be holiday resorts, good holiday resorts. So many tourists, many people from other countries visited Athens, Greece, and this is now that we pay the price.
Mm. But we can fly now to Greece or no? No.
There are travel restrictions. No, you can't, unless there are specific limitations and you take precautions. I haven't even asked about this, but it's not so easy. It's not so easy to take a taxi, to go to the airport. There
PCA.
are restrictions. There are restrictions for sure.
Mm.
And the best restriction is when you restrict yourself, because I wouldn't travel. It's very dangerous.
Okay.
Especially while traveling by plane, because the same air is circulated.
Yes.
It's not that I go by boat and I can stay on board and look at the sea. It's a different situation. The space is very restricted, so the same air is circulated. It's the same surfaces are touched upon. So it's not the same.
Oh, well,
I think
the next time.
humanity will somehow find a way. Yes, next time for sure.
The next
For
year,
sure,
because
we need to.
we want to organize another congress here in Egypt in Spanish and in English again, because the people like so much on the conference. Then sure that we make another for the next year, and of course
Exactly.
that with you the next year.
And what I decided to talk on something that is more practical, and in order to help, especially help pre-service teachers. So what I'm going to focus today has to do with practicalities issues, how they can make things better and easier for their learners. I'm not going to go deep, to academic matters and abstract terms and abstract notions that have to do with linguistics. No, no, no. I will keep myself simple. I will keep myself simple.
Yeah, it's the better. Now it's the better. Okay, very well. Then, if you want, we can start.
Okay. So first of all, let me tell you that I feel very privileged to be here with you among so many experts and scholars and people that have devoted more than, let's say, how many years? Sometimes I forget, even for myself, when I count. I would say minimum 20 years of minimum for me. I'm given the opportunity to enjoy this joint powers, as we called it, phenomenon here that we experience today. So many countries from so many different and so many different backgrounds and cultures. Many topics are going to be analyzed here. For example, the effects of loneliness, the diaspora and literature, linguistic diversity, the use of ICTs for EFL learners, students, coaching, emotions, education, emotional intelligence, and mental health, to name but a few. And I would like to focus for my inaugural address on multiculturalism, because I was inspired by the fact that we gathered, so many countries gathered here, and no matter that we use the lingua franca English, we never cease to come from different cultures. But what we achieved today is to talk together on the same platform. So I decided to devote and talk about multiculturalism and plurilingualism and translanguaging. So I'm not going to go deeply. I'm going to say a few things, and I have some notes here so as to remember the most basic things I want to say. Humans need an organized medium of communication, and in any given social context, and this is language. The term language, due to the complexity that it has been agreed among linguistic intellectuals and intellectuals, including artists, teachers, academics, writers, that it is a system of symbols designed for the purposes of communication. We live in a multicultural world, we live in a multilingual world, and there is evident linguistic diversity. A multicultural, pluralistic society, as I call it, where English is the lingua franca for education, and not only for education, but also for the trade, the employment, the career, and the academia. But the big question is it enough? Is it English enough? For me, it's not. Because in a rapidly growing international migration, people either escape from oppression and the war zone, they look for better job prospects. So it is crucial that education provide a varied language repertoire. This suggests a language policy that enhances and improves somehow the quality of the school curriculum and highlights the role of the multiple languages. Typically, there's a question like, what language do you want to speak? Do you want to speak Spanish, French, German, Greek, Italian, Russian, so many languages? Let's now focus on the key concept of multilingualism. What exactly is multilingualism? It is the ability of an individual speaker to communicate effectively in three or more languages. In contrast with monolingualism, where we speak only one language, a person that can speak multiple languages is known as a polyglot, and the phenomenon is called polyglossia, or a multilingual. We may use these words without much distinction, and this is, linguistically speaking, a gray zone because there is a great difference between plurilingualism and multilingualism. Multilingualism is when several languages coexist in a society. People speak one language and live among others who do not speak it. These several languages can be official or unofficial, native or foreign, and national or international. Canada and Belgium, for example, and Switzerland are officially declared multilingual countries. Likewise, countries like South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya experience multilingualism. Plurilingualism now covers people who speak different languages in different situations. For example, a Greek who speaks French at work, Greek among family, Spanish in their social life, and as they live in Spain, because there are certain, they have to meet, let's say, clients from different countries as well, international trade. So they change their level of communicating with people. Few contemporary societies can be considered homogeneous, according to David Crystal, and allow me to read his words. Speaking two or more languages is the natural way of life for 3/4 of the human race. This principle has been obscured in parts of Europe as a consequence of colonial history. We urgently need to reassert it and to implement it in practical ways, for in the modern world, monolingualism is not a strength, but a handicap. Why is multilingualism important? It can promote global citizenship and the cultural understandings around us, around our planet. In other words, we can prepare people with the language skills they need for a multicultural and multilingual society, and they need to, in order to develop the necessary sensitivity towards the cultural linguistic needs of their fellow citizens, the so-called global citizenship. Why is multilingual education important now? Because it creates cultural awareness. It adds academic and educational value. It enhances the creativity. It adjusts society, and it appreciates local languages. The linguistic consequences include the creation of mixed languages within a linguistic milieu, enhances cross-cultural communication strategies and cross-cultural communication skills, relating to different cultures or comparison between them or cross-cultural understanding. Translanguaging and code switching, two another important notions. Multilingual speakers use a variety of discourse practices and linguistic strategies to communicate very effectively in multilingual contexts, such as translanguaging. It's or code switching, changing from one language to another. Code switching is seen as the process of changing two languages, whereas translanguages is about the speaker's construction that creates the complete language repertoire. The process whereby multilingual speakers use their languages as an integrated communication system. They don't separate them. The term translanguaging was coined in the 1980s by Ken Williams in his unpublished thesis titled An Evaluation of Teaching and Learning Methods in the Context of Bilingual Secondary Education. Translanguaging is a new trend in the English instruction that involves encouraging students to use their native tongues more frequently in class, because so far they have been told that their mother tongue languages are not so much desirable in the English language classroom, and they should only speak English. Well, this is not the same anymore. So translanguaging is a new trend, as I said, in which speakers are encouraged to speak their native language because they value communication. That's the most important thing that we should view here, how they can communicate and not how they are going to communicate. Multilingual speakers use all their languages to communicate, whether for asking questions, providing answers, participating in the classroom. So translanguaging allows the students to use language practices that they already possess. And they feel confident. They use them to perfect their English. This is what we should realize, that translanguages is used for development and enhancement. So it's not a barrier anymore, and it shouldn't be considered a barrier. So the theory of translanguaging suggests that a bilingual person is not two monolinguals in one, with each language linked to a separate culture. It's integrated. Code switching is the discourse practice of being able to alternate the use of two languages or two registers and dialects, of the same languages, usually in conversation rather than in writing. How is translanguaging different from other ESOL methods, English to students of other languages methods? In the older forms of ESOL instruction, the focus was, as I said, on encouraging students to speak mostly English and speaking a native language that now is expected to be avoided. Proponents of translanguaging argue that this practice is harmful to students. In some papers on the use of translanguaging in Iowa, Kavitha Nabisan argues, when their native language is banned, some students become reluctant to speak or they lose their motivation. This can lead to a decrease in the learner's participation, which is an integral part of language learning. Allowing students to speak their native language is viewed as an important confidence boost in the classroom. First and foremost, we need to consider how many languages the students speak and how many the teacher speaks, because it may be confusing to have many students who speak different languages. In this case, and if this happens, regulations need to be established in order to maintain order. But if this doesn't happen, it's a blessing to use the native language in the classroom. Kavitha Nabisan also asserts that students may feel more confident articulating their questions in a language in which they are proficient. They possess it, which supports the idea that translanguaging can increase participation. Success in a new language depends on some level of security in the mother tongue, and we should not forget this. So, towards my concluding comments, I would say that the big realization from this inaugural address is that learners need to build an identity based on diversity, or on a platform of linguistic diversity, and get the best out of this diversification, like the way we are going to do today on this platform. How will speakers of immigrant languages be taught equitably so that they have access to the school curriculum? How will speakers of the national language learn to appreciate and value this diversity? These are the last two questions I leave as food for thought for all the participants and for you, for your classes to ask them in any time, in any place. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Evangelia. Very good. And it's true, all your words. And well, I have to be very grateful with you and your school for to have this opportunity for the people, Greek people and another people meet Latin America culture. In this time, we will have conference with speakers from Argentina, from Ecuador, and of course from Mexico and Brazil. Then this
Brazil.
will be, yes, this will be 2 days with conference, very, very interesting that all we enjoy. I wait that all the people enjoy it. And the idea of all this is to learn. Yes, we have to learn, we have to share different topics, different ideas, but with the same idea to learn, to meet, and to be together, learning for our students, for the people, for all the society. Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much for your help and for.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
That was just a dedication to plurilingualism and multilingualism. It was just a dedication. The conference is going to start right now with very interesting topics, and I would be eager to listen to all the great scholars that are today here with us. And then you will introduce and you will present the program, because I don't have it with me right now. I don't remember the correct order
Yes,
of the speakers.
of
So
course.
I think there is one speaker, and after that speaker, it's my turn again.
Yes, of course. Uh,
Yes.
well, I have in first time to Fernanda Gualotuña from Ecuador. Yes, she
Okay.
will speak for virtual classes. Yes,
Virtual classes.
yes. After this, if you want, I can to share with you the the calendar. But can you check it? And the people
Okay.
can check.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
can you check it? Can you see?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I can see it.
Okay.
So the virtual classes, then I'm going to continue with the multiple choice exams and how we can adapt them. Then about the color contrast and diversity with Esther Alvarez Bolanos, and real or imaginary the effects of loneliness with, I'm sorry if I mispronounce the names, Juan Jose Gigliotti.
Yes,
Then Mr. Santos Kumar, Diaspora Literature, a Panoramic View. And this is for today.
this is for today. Yes.
Yes.
And tomorrow we start at 9 a.m.
The
I
same hour, yes.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
linguistic diversity in Latin America. After this, Said Osu from Morocco, with investigating the relationship between Moroccan EFL students, use of tics, and the readiness for autonomy. And
Mm-hmm.
Ruben Diaz Olivares from Mexico, with coaching, emotions, and education. Maria Isabel Puente from Ecuador, with successful sorry, minds with emotion intelligence. And we close the event with Ramon de Jesus from Brazil with mental health, keeping your emotional health. Then I wait that all the people enjoy this calendar or this conference. And thank you very much. Happy birthday, very, very happy birthday. Today, I
Thank you.
know that today is your birthday, Evangelia. Then I wait that this can be a very nice gift for you.
It is indeed. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, then we can start now with the conference for our friend Maria Fernanda Gualotuña from Ecuador. She is now with me, and she is English teacher too. And well, come to give the microphones to Fernanda. Fernanda, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Evangelia, Santos, and all the people who is following us in the Facebook line. I'm very glad, I'm very happy to be here and share some things that we do online with the people who is connected now. I'll say again, happy birthday, Evangelia. I think the best way to celebrate a birthday is working, sharing, and having fun with the people who is around us. In this way, in the virtual way, we could work with all of the people around the world. Actually, I'm an English and Spanish teacher online. I have been working more or less 5 years. So I could say it's the best way to connect with the world. Okay, I'm going to begin. Okay, here we have, check me please, tell me please if you're watching my screen.
You may start. Everything is perfect.
Okay, pretty good. Pretty good. Here we have my presentation. Oh no, this is not mine. So sorry. This is mine. Yep. Okay. So I'm gonna share the screen. Yeah. There. Are you watching my screen now? Yep.
Yes, dear.
Perfect. Okay, my topic is the topic that I really love, virtual classes. Why? Because in the virtual classes, like I said before, we have the opportunity to share all the things that you want, all the activities, all the subjects in different languages around the world. So in this moment, we are talking in English, but we are talking with people from Greece, we are talking with people from India, we are talking with people from Latin America, and we are having a connection because the language. English, as Evangelia said before, it's a word language which is used to have the connection with the people. What's a virtual class? When we think on offline class, usually the first image comes to my mind is connect with the people by the computer, isn't it? However, the good news is that online courses can cover any area of knowledge. That is, they are not limited to traditional materials. In English and in Spanish, in English, or any other languages, we could work with a lot of amazing thousands of tools that we have in the virtual way to teach. So if you have any artistic skills such as dance or have knowledge in a very specific subject, for example, personal finance, you may teach your skill through video classes. Online education is a form of distant education that is using the internet with all the information, all its information and communication technology tools to carry out the teaching learning process. Thanks to the new information and the new technologies, we can communicate with the students. The students could be in the house, in the school, in the park, in any way in this distance or the situation that they have internet, and they could connect it with us without any problem. When we teach online, we have or two ways to teach. The first one is synchronous learning, and the other one is unsynchronized learning activities. So what means that? Which is the difference? The difference between these ones are synchronized learning activities is like we are doing now. We are connecting online and live, and we are talking, speaking, and having questions and ideas, and all of this is in the moment. The other way is using the information to work um, out of line system or time, and then you will share the results. Okay. Which are the advantages of virtual classes? we have a lot of benefits. I love to teach in the virtual way. We have access to extensive learning materials, study anytime on your lunch break, late at night, or on weekends, expert distance learning tutor support, study from anywhere, no college attendance required, study at the pace that is coming into view, study in the comfort of your own home, or enroll at any time. So you could do anywhere, anyway. Always when you have a internet signal, you will have the connection without any problem. Okay, I'm gonna show you a video. I'm not gonna show you the video because we don't have too much time, but I'm gonna show you some ideas that you could use on your virtual classes.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Top Think. Today we're going to learn about 7 memory tricks to learn anything faster. Now let's begin. Number 1. The production effect. Have you ever locked your car only to forget 5 minutes later whether you locked it or not? Why do we have so much trouble remembering such obvious things? Well, your memories are separated into 2 different categories: implicit and explicit. Implicit memories are things you remember unconsciously. You don't recall brushing your teeth or eating breakfast most mornings because you do these activities without thinking. Explicit memories, on the other hand, are things we consciously remember. When you study for a test, this information is a lot easier to recall because you're making a conscious effort to learn. Habitual activities like locking your car fall into your implicit memory. We do them so often that it doesn't make sense to store each one as a conscious thought. Since you're essentially doing it without thinking, it's hard to be 100% sure that it actually happened. This is where the production effect comes into play. It converts an implicit memory into an explicit memory by bringing your attention to your behavior. All you have to do is say what you're doing out loud. It's incredibly simple and it takes no extra effort, but it transforms your habitual recall. A 2010 study tested this exact phenomenon. They split participants up into 2 groups. One read words silently, while the other said every word out loud. Sure enough, the second group recalled content better than their counterparts, showing the huge impact that vocal production has on recall. By incorporating this simple but powerful technique, you can start to instantly sharpen your memory. Number 2. The power of paper. Over the years, pencil and paper have fallen out of favor. In most colleges and even some high schools, students are taking notes exclusively on computers. Typing lets you copy down more information at a faster rate, but what if typing your notes is making it harder for you to learn? A 2014 study compared the test scores of students who typed and wrote out their notes. The researchers guessed that the pencil and paper students would perform better. Turns out they were right. Pencil and paper students outperform typing students because of how writing things out interacts with your brain. This older method forces you to spend less time copying and more time processing. Many students can type as fast as their teachers talk. Without realizing it, they do more transcribing than actual learning. Because pencil and paper is slower, you have to constantly condense and restructure new information. In other words, you get a deeper understanding by writing less. Pencil and paper also gets rid of the most detrimental key on the keyboard, delete. You need to be able to make mistakes while you learn. When you type, it's too easy to mindlessly erase errors without understanding what was wrong. On paper, you're forced to make physical corrections. That way, you're learning from your mistakes instead of pretending that they never happened. Number 3. Context cues. Context sharpens your memory because it's encoded alongside the information that you're trying to remember. Well, let's say you want to memorize a presentation for work. While you're practicing a really difficult section, you start eating an apple. Your brain will naturally pair the apple and that part of the presentation in your memory. The apple becomes a sort of cue that you can use to retrieve more complicated information. These contextual cues can take pretty much any shape, but the most common is visual. Another study from 2010 examined the exact role of visual context in memorization. The researchers gave each participant a set of words to remember. Each word was paired with a certain type of picture. Group 1 saw pictures of normal faces, while Group 2 saw pictures of scrambled faces. As the researchers predicted, visual context significantly boosted recall. The first group who saw pictures of normal faces had a much easier time remembering their list of words. In each of these examples, there's been a noticeable stimulus, but context cues will work either way. The uniqueness of cues like the apple or the picture didn't actually matter, so you don't have to do a bunch of weird stuff while you study just to improve your memory. Your brain encodes all types of context in the same way, so all you have to do is be aware of your environment. Number 4. Spacing effect. Every student has been told at some point not to cram right before a test, yet we've all done it anyway. You've known about the test for weeks, but try to relearn an entire semester's worth of information in 24 hours. How does this strategy usually play out? Well, you end up only remembering a fraction of what you studied, and your brain gets so overwhelmed and exhausted that it can't perform. According to the director of the Cognition and Education Lab at Dartmouth College, our brain can only retain so much information at one time. We need extended periods of practice to make durable memories. Scientists call this the spacing effect because the space in between practice sessions is what gives our brain the chance to encode and recover. To test this, researchers looked at two different learning techniques: massed practice and distributed practice. Think of massed practice like cramming. After being exposed to a stimulus, you try to retain all of that information by studying it immediately afterwards. And just like cramming, it typically doesn't work. Distributed practice is when you spread the learning process out over several shorter sessions. By studying the same thing each time, you actually absorb the information so you can recall it whenever necessary. But why does spacing make such a big difference? Well, the best explanation is called study phase retrieval theory. Each time you enter a piece of information that you've learned before, your brain tries to retrieve any encoded memories. When it successfully finds a memory, the information becomes harder for you to forget. Distributed practice forces you to do this repeatedly while creating necessary space in between. That way, you have time to remember something, forget it, and then remember it again. Each time the information
Okay, so what do you think about this video? Could you tell me something? Evangelia, Santos?
Okay, I would like you to pose questions. What would you like to know about its impact, about its effect, about how useful it is? What would you like to know?
This is very useful because when you know exactly how does your mind, your brain works, how do you learn exactly, you are going to do some things like these suggestions to create a best learning for any subjects, not only for English. Of course, English is the first one, no?
Yes, for sure. For for all, you are talking about language acquisition, right? Language acquisition. Yes. Okay.
We have to
This is a
check
very
and we have to understand that when, in my case, to learn or to teach a language, the first thing that you have to do is understand how do you learn. And like in a natural way, when a baby born, you know, the baby just listen and listen and listen. And after that, the baby begins to speak, but they speak only the language, only the things that he have listened. That is the reason because a baby who born in China speaks Chinese, and the baby who born in Greece speak Greek, and the people who born in Latin America speak Spanish. So we have to practice in this, we have to take these suggestions to teach and to learn. So I teach, for example, when a student is beginning with me, I say, okay, don't worry, be relaxed and started listening and listening. Listen clearly what I'm trying to say to you, listening clearly what is happening, what is sounding around you, and after that, begin to read, I mean, begin to speak. I don't use to use the grammar, for example, at the beginning of the classes with the basic people because they don't need it. So when you know how do you learn, you know exactly how do you, or what do you need to do to learn. Does it understandable?
Yes, of course.
Pretty good. Okay, in educational virtual tools, we have an amazing amount of things, of tools that we could use. Global education, video lesson, online reading, e-learning, courses, e-books, questions and answers. But I think one of the best material that we use to teach and to learn are the games. You know, gamification in all of the subjects around the world is working. I think we need to use it to have a good results. I would like to listen to Santos. Santos, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
What do you think about this? I would like to listen to you. Santos?
Yes, ma'am. I could. Some voice is breaking from your side, ma'am. Sorry. Hello.
You didn't listen to me carefully?
No, no. I'm able to listen to you, ma'am. But problem is that I could hear some breaking.
Yeah, what ideas do you have? What opinion do you have about this presentation, about this support that I'm giving?
Ma'am, I just go with your ideas, ma'am. But only one query what runs in my mind is that when it comes to virtual classes, the problem is that in few cases, ma'am, I'm just saying it within quotes. In few cases, certain technologies are not user friendly to faculties and the student community, ma'am. Certain technologies are not user friendly. Not all, but certain technologies which are supposed to be the need of the hour for the faculties to enrich themselves and also for students to get updated. Certain educational apps, when we tried through virtual classes, they are not user friendly, ma'am. That's what I had been having those experiences. Even though virtual classes are the need of the hour, and education is at a stake where it needs to go with divergent towards technology. But in few cases, technologies are not being user friendly to a human mind span. That is what I would like to reflect, ma'am, on your presentation.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Santos.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
ideas for a good performance in virtual classes. Wall group instruction, small group instructions. Actually, in my case, for example, like I work every day from Monday to Friday, no, from Monday to Saturday, and I work with 1 hour with the students by day. So I use very small groups, like 2, 3. Of course, in the subjects with the teachers, when you are teaching in a normal school, in a elementary school, in the high school, you have to keep the format, and you have to keep the schedule to work with them. And more in most of the cases, you have to work with a big group. But the most suggested situation, it's very small groups, as small as you can. Okay, we could make class discussion in Zoom. In this platform, we could use groups, small groups inside the group. So we could work with that situation without any problem. Virtual for trips. I love this. We were working with some adults in Latin America, and they say they felt so stressed because they can't go out from the house and having any movement around and something like that. I said, okay, we are going to travel, and when we are presenting this kind of events, for example, we have connection with people from A lot of countries. So I say, okay, close your eyes because we are going to travel to Brazil, or now we are going to travel to Egypt. And the people, it could make this. So we could work with these ideas with the students, and they are going to move in the mind, of course, they are going to move to different places. That's one of the best options that we have with the virtual classes. As Santos said, of course, there are a lot of problems. A lot of students who can't connect, a lot of students who had problems with the connection, a lot of students without internet. But I think if you have internet and you know there are around you, there's people who want to connect it, help them, share with them. That's gonna be a best work for everybody. Okay, like we have in connection Evangelia and Santos now, we are going to make 2 or 3 brain exercises. That's one of the games that I used to teach because that relax the students and let them to understand and learn easier. So I'm gonna see Santos and Evangelia who is going to answer first. Okay, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am, we are ready.
Evangelia, are you ready?
Yes, I just
Okay,
unmuted myself.
let's see.
Okay.
Let's enjoy it.
Want more horsepower in your head? Well then, here are 9 riddles and brain teasers that'll boost your brain power. Scientists have proven that riddles help you boost your thinking abilities and improve your attention span. Are you ready to solve some puzzles that flex your brain muscles? Number 1. We'll start with a warm-up. I'll give you 10 seconds to tell which glass has more water in it. They all look identically full to me. Could it be that easy? Ah, the correct answer is glass B.
Which is the answer?
We heard it.
You heard it, my man.
The glass B. Yeah, I gave you the answer. Why, Santos? Why is the glass B?
Um, um,
Perhaps it has to do with the gravity of the objects. I can see that they're of different sizes, right? Perhaps of the weight. I don't know. I'm not. I have never been good at physics.
That's the good answer. That's a good observation because the clip it's very light.
Light, yes.
So
in
if
terms
you
of size,
the clip, you are going to have almost the same amount of liquid of water. But if you take off the other ones, you are going to have less. It's because the weight of the objects inside the glass.
Yes.
Okay, let's
exactly.
see the next
Okay,
one.
we found this one. All right.
The scissors, paperclip, eraser, and watch are in there for a reason. Compared to the other objects, the paperclip takes up the least amount of space. If you take all the things out of the glasses, you'll see that glass B has more water. Number 2. Now, that's what I call a feast. Can you find all these things in the picture? I feel like 10 seconds won't be enough here, so I'll be generous and give you 20 seconds instead.
Could you see 2 or 3 of them?
At least 2, 3, yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Not all.
Pretty good, pretty good. What I'm doing, I'm stretching your brain, you see?
Yeah. First, I could see the eggs.
Okay.
Then,
They really were there. Those peas were pretty hard to find, don't you think? Number 3. What figure should replace the question mark? You've got 10 seconds to figure it out. So, did you...
What figure?
We need to, I mean, there is a figure. There are no answers like there is no figure that can replace it.
Yes.
No, but if you put it the question mark in the other way, in the other
Yes,
side, you are going to make a figure. Which one is?
Here.
We have first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Which is?
Fifth.
Fifth?
I think the last one or the second one. Yes.
Are you agree?
Or the...
Are you agree with Evangelia Santos?
I don't have idea.
managed to see the hidden pattern in these weird shapes? They are all numbers with their mirrored reflections to the left. So the right answer here is a 6 and its backwards twin. Number 4. Can you find a totally symmetrical cross in this picture?
Okay, why do I show you this? I like to work with this because always we think when we make a fun activity, when we enjoy what do we do, when we have the connection with the people who are working with you, could be kids, could be teenagers, could be adults, any kind of people that you could work with you. If they have fun, if they enjoy what they are doing, and most important in the case, if you, like a teacher, enjoy what you do, always the things are going to be right. There's a phrase which I love to remember and I love to use for all around in my presentations is, when you love what you do, you will never work. So I'll never work. I only enjoy the life that I have. You know, now I have the opportunity to be here in Egypt and sharing with people from other countries, from Evangelia to Greece and India with Santos. Tomorrow we will have connection with other countries, and that for me is one like a gift, like Evangelia said, because keep in touch with these people, share the ideas, make friends, make more friends. That is one of the best things for the life. In my case, it's my personal opinion. I hope you have enjoyed this. I'll give you my 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 cell phone and there is my cell phone number, my WhatsApp number, and my email address. So for anybody who could keep in touch with me, of course, make it free to contact, make it free to write me, to say, Fernanda, give me an opinion, help me, and anything that I can do, of course, I'm going to do it. I think this presentation, we are going to make a group with all of the other speakers, and we are going to share with you, to share with your friends, with your students, or with the other teachers, okay?
No more games.
No more games.
No more games. All right.
Okay, Evangelia, do you have any question?
No, not for the time being.
Santos, do you
It
have
was
any
everything was crystal clear to me.
Perfect, perfect. That sounds so great for me. Santos, do you have any question?
No, ma'am. Everything was absolutely perfect, and you answered my question by stating the fact that even though we face certain technological glitches, it is advisable to share our connectivity with everyone. So you answered my question. So
Okay.
everything was clear cut, ma'am. Thank you so much for enlightening us, ma'am.
No, thank you to listen to me. Okay, now we are going to have the 10 minutes of break, and then we will return with the presentation of Evangelia.
Okay.
என்ன சொன்னீங்க பார்த்துட்டே இருக்கு நீங்க வாட்ஸ்அப்
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, now it's a turn for our dear friend, Evangelina Basileco. Basileco, it's okay how I say it?
Evangelia.
Evangelia.
I have heard all versions, you know, Evangelina, Eva, all versions of my name. No, it's Evangelia.
Okay.
In Greek, it means the person who brings good news.
Oh, good, very good. Okay. In Mexico, we use the name, but this Evangelina.
Ah, I see.
The first time I say Evangelina, no, it's not Evangelina, it's Evangelia. I say that it was
You see
Evangelia.
the dominance of the native language. I mean, the dominance of the mother tongue.
Ah,
That, of course, it dominates. I mean, it's the one that is prevalent. First thing you first thing you do is to think in your own language. Everything.
okay, very good. Okay, well, today
So,
we will start with our friend Evangelia.
okay, so I'm going to share my screen, right?
Yes, please. How can you do it?
I would like to start with certain LinkedIn growing concerns that have to do with testing and assessment, because there has been a lot of controversy over these terms. Questions like, is testing so terrible? If it can really ruin the student's life? If it impedes opportunities for meaningful teaching? If it is the embodiment of wrongness and everything, all the associated ills that may follow? Can we improve assessment and not rely on superficial knowledge? Should we get high stakes standardized testing out of education? And are they useful, or can they be considered a waste of time? The most important words for me are these of Noam Chomsky, and I thank him for that, because he said that the assessment itself is completely artificial. And he gave me a lot of room for thinking and trying to understand how we can improve any kind of standardized exams, especially the multiple choice exams, and try to put some creativity elements and critical thinking elements in them. Of course, the linguist Noam Chomsky is correct here, because most of the multiple choice exams are black and white. They don't leave space for critical thinking. He also talked about the dangers of the standardized testing in his interview by the Progressive magazine on January 16th, 2015, titled Calls to Action, Noam Chomsky on the Dangers of Standardized Testing. He said, and allow me to read the words per se, because I don't want to destroy the beauty of his thinking and his line of argumentation. I wouldn't like to paraphrase such words. So he claimed that the assessment itself is completely artificial. It's not ranking teachers in accordance with their ability to help develop children who will reach their potential, explore their creative interests. Those things you are not testing. It's a rank that is mostly meaningless, and the very ranking itself is harmful. It's turning us into individuals who devote our lives to achieving a rank, not into doing things that are valuable and important. He even made through comparison between the test takers and the economic man. What exactly is the economic man? This term refers to an idolized human being who acts upon logic and seeks to maximize his wealth. By doing so, he never pays attention to anything else because this is what can be measured, this is what is quantifiable. And this is actually where danger lies. Also, Chomsky said that this idea of ranking is harmful in itself, measuring and saying that this student got an A and that student got a B. It's a kind of a system of creating something called economic man, the term I mentioned just now. What kind of human being is that? Is that the kind of human being we want to become? All these mechanisms, testing, assessing, and evaluating and measuring, they force the people to develop those characteristics, the characteristics of the economic man. All these ideas and concepts have consequences. So he's trying to make us more alert about multiple choice exams and standardized testing. He continues by saying that you take what is happening in education, there is a strong tendency to require assessment of children and teachers so that you have to teach to tests. The test determines what happens to the child and what happens to the teacher. That is guaranteed to destroy any meaningful educational process because in that way the teacher cannot be creative, cannot be imaginative. What is the result? The people sitting in the offices, the test designers and all the bureaucrats designing these tests, he particularly say that they are not evil people, but they are working within a system of ideology. So here lies the answer. Can we really change the system of ideology? Can we rethink about the way that these multiple choice tests are designed? Dame Mary also said that one of the most distressing characteristics of education reformers is that they are hyper-focused on how students perform. So performance is not a panacea. We shouldn't only think about the performance of students, but also the way they learn, their acquisition process. And we ignore it for the sake of assessing. Karen Dweck said that research shows that an environment that emphasizes evaluation and testing creates a fixed achievement mindset and not a growth mindset. That is, it sends the message that all the cognitive abilities are standardized and they are fixed. And what would be the purpose of school in that case? Just to quantify them, just to measure them. So students, instead of seeing the school as a learning environment, as a place that they can feel safe and sound, they can create, and by doing in order to learn, they come to school, they come to see school as a place to look smart, where only intelligence counts. So here comes my challenge. What can happen if we can really try to adapt them? Can artificiality stop? Can with these changes that I'm going to propose in my later slides, we can have a good nature of assessment? Because honestly now, we can't blame the test designers. The only thing we can blame is the system's ideology. But how can we do this? How can we challenge them? Before I move on to that way of change, I would like to focus on the myth of the average. I was listening because I'm an avid listener of TEDx talks, and I think that these guru speakers over there have many things to contribute to the academia. Todd Roses' TEDx talk, Todd Roses, for those who don't know him, is the co-founder and the president of the Center for Individual Opportunity and the faculty member at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, said that we shouldn't believe on the term average. Because if we can talk about average results, then we destroy any kind of talent. These tests have been designed for the average student. It's like designing them for nobody. There is no value, there is not value, there is no measurement for sameness. How can we value it? So the question for Todd Rose is that how can we design a standardized test that would fit most students? it's impossible. There is no average because the students vary. The tests tell us a little about them. And this is of little benefit to students assessing large groups of individuals. So what would be my philosophy here? How can we create critical standardized tests and not just multiple choice tests? Let me start first of all with the anatomy of a traditional current multiple choice exam item. We know that the question is called the stem and the alternatives are called the distractors that try to distract the student from the right answer. The right answer here is marked with an asterisk. So what I would like to keep in mind here is that when we talk about multiple choice tests, we refer to closed systems, systems that they are just based on mere remembrance, if memory. And this cannot be a true assessment of knowledge. We can neither go beyond one of the four presented alternatives, nor justify for the chosen alternative. This is just black or white, as I said before. For me, after 23 years of service in the exam section and preparing students for EFL exams and for IELTS and all these exams, standardized exams, I think that there should be a fusion. What kind of fusion? Between methodology and strategies and adaptations. There should be some kind of reasonable skepticism, my favorite phrase, because we can't help skepticism in everything we do, especially in the classrooms, because we can't just accept the course books and the practice tests or any kind of test that is given like this. And even if students are supposed to sit for the exams and they have no other option than to accept what is given to them, we as teachers and we as educators, before we tell them that you can go and you can sit for the exams, we are supposed to prepare them in a different way. In our classrooms, we have freedom and we can do many adaptations and we can put a lot of wisdom on these exam papers. So that kind of fusion dictates for methodology to come to the screen and strategies, as I said, and adaptations, I repeat myself. What kind of methodology? What I call the literacy, the multiple choice literacy and the critical mindset. In other words, the testmanship. And strategies, yes, but divided into three parts. The pre-multiple choice testing, the while multiple choice testing, and the post multiple choice testing. We cannot blend everything. There should be stages. There should be different strategies for each of these stages. I have been observing so many commercial books, course books, and I have nothing against these books. The only thing that I would like to see incorporated is some strategies. I have seen some strategies, but they are very rare in very, very few course books. And even if they are there, they are not so analytic because they think that they could be useful up to that extent. For me, no, they are not useful to that extent. They are useful, but they are not to the extent that I have always been dreaming of. So the strategies are important to be there. Adaptations, there can be everywhere. Adaptations in the grammar, vocabulary, and reading sections. We can give grammar prompts. We can deal with vocabulary based on computational linguistics that I do in my classes. We can deal with reading using discourse analysis tools, or we can use symbolic logic. We can, we can replace certain phrases, periphrases with symbols. All these phrases can be symbolized with A, and all that phrase can be symbolized with B, and make students understand the argumentation line of the author. It doesn't have to be so much input there. Or superior reasoning questions to help them. But this is just theory. Let me become more specific. What exactly can be incorporated in a pre-multiple choice testing stage? We need to help students narrow them down. We see that there are 4 options there, and usually their main complaint is that I was in between the 2. I eliminated the other 2, and I was in between these 2. I couldn't figure out which one was the correct one. So we should give them some frameworks, like what kind of wrong answers they should expect. For example, to make them suspicious that the moment you see something that is half true, it just answers a part of the text, it means that it is false. We need to have totality. You need to see an exam item holistically, or that usually opposite ideas are always wrong, or be careful with absolutism and generalizations, misleading words like always or never or generally. These are weapons that they can take with them, along with them in the examination room. I continue. We can talk about tense agreement. We can tell them about the thought shifts. For example, misleading words like but and although and nevertheless, or repetitions, that the correct answers have no word repetitions usually and typically, but they paraphrase, and synonyms should be the learner's target. Or what I call the face value. They need to take the answers at face value and to see that it says what it means. Avoid thinking of complex scenarios in which the answer could be true. Sometimes students get carried away because they don't agree with what is given in a reading text. No, this shouldn't be happening. They need to realize that they deal with facts, and they need to answer and deal with only these facts and not what they think about the text. Or they can be suspicious about the exception option. For example, to pick the option that is different from the other options. There are always strategies, like another one would be the double appearance. They should look for words that appear in the choices twice or more than once. All these are strategies, and all these are pieces of advice for traps that they might come across. Now, about the wild multiple choice testing stage and adaptations. For me, there is minimalistic scaffolding, and I refer to the term scaffolding according to Vygotsky, because for me, the Vygotskian scaffolding should be like a Bible in every EFL class or in every classroom that the languages are taught. So in this pre-testing stage, the best scenario I have seen so far is this. Read carefully and answer. Can you see any critical thinking involved? Can you see any, I don't know, creativity involved? So I think that Chomsky is right. Or here, even here. I can see just a box. I'm very grateful because at least this is a step to success. This is a sign of strategy, but is it enough? Is it enough to say that take time to underline all the key words in the question stem so that you have the context in mind before you finalize the answer? Save you from making careless mistakes and questions that are well within your range. And this is done? The student is satisfied? I don't think so. Another now best scenario for a sufficient multiple choice test scaffolding for me, sufficient, adequate, but not ideal, would be this. The SAT evidence-based reading. I'm just giving you some examples because the SAT for me, it works. If we look at it more closely, you see that they have been called evidence support texts. Students are required, let me read the first question. In the passage, the author anticipates which of the following objections to criticizing the ethics of free markets. You see that there are 4 options. And then another question follows. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? So you see there the lines, they have been given to the student, the justification lines, and then the data taken, authentic data taken from the reading. So this is a step to improvement for me. It's different if we compare it with all the other ones, but it's not enough. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question is a good step, I repeat, but it's not enough. So here are some recommendations that I have done with my students in my classrooms. I haven't designed it the way I will show you now. I designed it in order to make you understand. I ask these questions to my students and I ask them orally to justify or to provide ground for their critical thinking. But now I'm going to incorporate, because I made all my actions visual. I visualized what I do. So this, in artificiality, in order to be outside our classrooms, we need to have an all-inclusive scaffolding, neither a minimalistic one nor an adequate one, but an all-inclusive one. So here is what I have for you. It's a generic remodeled multi-choice test layout. You see that I have incorporated 4 areas. The rationale for the exam item, the question, a rephrased question purpose of the exam item, highlighted info. Then some prompting and scaffolding, some rule reminders or definitions or corpus images. It could be summary points, or it could be strategies. This is just the template I'm showing you. And then the alternatives, but not just like this. Point number 3 has to do with the justification of choice. The student is supposed to answer, not just in 3 or 4 or a story of his or her life, but just in 1 or 2 lines maximum, why he or she has chosen this alternative. I have chosen this alternative because what I know is that, and I am exposed to the ideas of the student. I know my class better. I have control of my class. It's not only just an A, B, C, or D. And 4, and most importantly, an extra graded option, an option that is dualistic, an option like do not know and not sure. Because in the not sure answer, the student may be more confident, and do not know least confident. And it is graded because we need to motivate the student, understand that this extra option that you have to tell the truth and say what you think, and not be afraid of telling that I don't know the other options, because we need authentic results. The point is not to play lotto. The point is not to just make an the point is to make an educated guess and not just to circle out of pure luck what the situation is. This extra option is there in order to help students. And I'm not talking about the options to the question. I'm not talking about the questions to the reading text, that they should incorporate 6 questions instead of 4 or 3. I'm talking about the options, that the options should be more. This is just a schematic diagram of rationale. A schematic diagram of rationale, why we need the graded extra option. Because as I said before, we can have a better control of the knowledge of our students, because we teach, but how can we be sure that they learn? Especially when Chomsky says that assessment is artificial. So by using degrees of confidence of choice, and by putting a graded extra option like this, I know when my students have partial knowledge or if they have absence of knowledge, and I'm given the chance as an expert in my class to redesign my test, even if it is already adapted, to adapt it again and again until I reach an ideal level that an expertise requires. What the research says now, Samuel et al. 2019 says that based on the results of this study, a significant decrease in the percentage of incorrect answers at 27% with the addition of the I don't know answer to pre-test is observed. Therefore, the I don't know student becomes the best option for the questions about which they have no prior knowledge. In their post-test assessment for multiple choice questions, they saw a much smaller, statistically significant difference in the percentage of correct and incorrect answers with the addition of the I don't know option. Apart from the extra option, another area I would like to comment on is the design. Why fonts matter in tests, and why is this? According to Chris Sorsby, we need new typefaces. The alphabet is a concept made concrete through countless written and designed letter forms. The alphabet cannot be defined by a single typeface, but it can be expressed through all of them. There are 26 letters in the Western script, and all look similar, not just to us. And if they look similar to us, let alone to students with learning disabilities, have we ever understood how difficult it would be for them? So using dyslexia-friendly fonts in Microsoft Word, there is the Open Dyslexic software that can mitigate reading errors caused by dyslexia. This typeface was created by Abelardo Gonzalez, who released it through an open source license specifically designed for fonts. And you can see the website for those who are interested in incorporate this, and it can really alleviate the reading difficulties of dyslexic users. These are the typical fonts in a multiple choice test. You can see the standardized way. And what would be the optical result by using dyslexic fonts is this. You can see that there is distance between the word boundaries and between the letters. There is depth, there is gravity in the letter, the punctuation marks there, the mechanics, as I call them, are larger. So a lot of conveniences for our students with learning disabilities and dyslexia. And here you can draw your comparisons. I will pause for a while and look for yourselves how it looks. So can we imagine a fusion between methodology, strategies, and at the same time changing the fonts for those students that we know in advance that have been diagnosed with learning disabilities and we want to help them? Yes, we want to help them. There is comfortability in readability in order to prevent the test confusion. And I repeat, heavy weighted bottoms, the direction, we can change the direction they see them. The unique shapes of each letter, the ascender or descender is lengthened, and not only students, there are many people outside there, readers, that they face dyslexia problems and readability problems. Not only students, teenager students or adult students, there are many people there. We need to help them and we need to provide assistance. Wide letter spacing, increasing the openings of the letters, punctuation and capitals made bold. Why not incorporate these in test designing? Why not? So this is a typical grammar item. Let me show you how it can be transformed. We can give a rationale that the purpose, let me read it first. George usually comes to the office meetings on time. Today, he was late. So what is the purpose of this item? To test antithesis. What is the scaffolding I can give to my students? Use your inductive reasoning. Notice the position of the typographic feature in the given sentence. How many commas do you see? Do they play a significant role when you have to choose between words of similar meaning like this? Test-taking strategy reminder. A wrong option can be an opposite, non-related idea, for example, addition. And then justification. And then an extra choice. This is complete control for me. And for skeptic teachers, for teachers who might say, well, I'm not supposed to give everything for them. They are supposed to find the answer. Well, this is not the answer. This is scaffolding. This is how you teach them how to become more critical thinkers. And if they don't know, you can see it in the justification. And if, again, they might make an educated guess and be correct with the justification, they are given the chance to say, I do not know it, or I'm not sure about it. This is how it can look, how it looks with the fonts, because mock exams can be given to students with learning disabilities in that way. I have just enlarged to see it by using open dyslexic fonts. This is vocabulary. What I have done for vocabulary, Another adaptation that I do in my classes, I use concordances, computational linguistics. So look at exam item. The celebrity would not her age. The words are impose, reveal, portray, and arise. What is the rationale? The purpose of this item is to test collocations, right? So I tell the students to use their inductive reasoning and observational skills. I have incorporated 4 examples of concordant lines. There are millions. It gives the application that I use gives 200 examples. I just took some of them. I photocopied and I put them in. Or I can give photocopies, or my mistake, or I can use a Word document and share my screen if it is online, or if it is in a physical classroom, I can have prepared a PowerPoint presentation, just showing them in slides the concordance lines. There are so many options I can do. And then they can see the collocations and justification, of course, and the extra option. So the rationale, as you can see, is here. New difficulties had arisen. They can see how the words are used, so they can easily answer these by incorporating critical thinking. If you're going to ask me now about reading, what can you do about reading? This passage is about water buffaloes, so this is how I can transform reading. First of all, I summarize. I ask them to summarize. I put a summary question because the question of do you understand is out of the question for me here. Students will say, yes, I understand. They will never tell you I don't understand. Or if they will, they might not tell you everything. They might be timid in saying that I understand nothing. So I try to teach them some summarization skills, to be selective. And I incorporate this first stage. Second stage, I provide them with some background information. The one that I have, the piece of information that I have in my teacher's book, if I don't know what to tell them. Branches of science, as I said, it was about the buffaloes. And then I can design mind mapping, the key concepts, and exercise. Of course, this is a screenshot, it doesn't show well, but inside it, there are some gaps. I ask them to complete the gaps in a form of a mind mapping that really makes them understand the main ideas in the text before I test them. Apart from that, I can use a written think aloud process. What is this? I try to teach them how they should think before they answer the questions. For example, it's like talking to themselves. I observe that the writer has begun with some characteristics of water buffaloes and uses clauses of contrast such as unlike and despite. This is their inner voice. They continue by saying, I also notice that the writer continues with cattle and not buffaloes. I need to draw a comparison between the 2 water buffaloes and cattle and to match the correct info with the correct animal. You show them how they should think, and then they will certainly be in a position to justify. And if not, there is also the extra option over there. And I finish there. There is no post-testing stage. Of course there is. And I call it performance extravaganza, because these are the final improvements. We don't stop at the end of the test. There should be some self-research and some reflection. Questions like, if you were a test designer, how do you think this exam item could be improved better? We need to listen to our students. What do you think was the cause of choosing the wrong answer? What was the specify? Tell us. And teachers also should reflect. A teacher's best blueprint for improving adaptation, a blueprint like this, an adaptation table. How can I adapt the section? Or what would be the linguistic level to adapt? Am I addressing intermediate students? Am I addressing advanced students? Or what would be the application I'm going to use? Corpus-based, summary points, mind mapping. Use frameworks in your teaching. And finishing my presentation, I would like to finish with the pedagogical implications. They are 5 in total for me. Teachers need to stop focusing on the debate about test taking and adapt tests. So there is solution. We can incorporate critical thinking for those that are anti-testing protesters, we shouldn't reject, we can adapt. The aim is to help students make better choices for their assessment and to promote a dynamic testing preparation. Because as I said, so far, no publishing companies have produced a test like this. This is what I do in my classes where I'm completely free. So this is only for the testing preparation. And I hope in the future, they will take this as a challenge and start preparing such tests or any other suggestions that they might have. Multiple choice question format is like black or white. I repeat this. So we need to understand that we need to simplify them and we need to make them incorporate critical thinking, as I said before, in order to make them more memorable. The more engaged we are, the more memorable they are, the more memorable they will be. Wise choice of font is important, and modifications made can decrease the number of questions left unanswered, because this is a case as well. Some students do not answer all of them, or we can minimize the guessing factor. It's not a game. So material like creative critical choice test may bring to life a truer reflection of assessment with a genuine and transparent dimension, making test artificiality fall into eclipse. Thank you very much for listening to me again.
Thank you very much, Evangelia. It's very, very interesting, your topic, because in Latin America, it's the same problem, because the teachers can't find how to use all these strategies for the students. And another teacher thinking some things and another teacher thinking another things. But now
They don't have the same policy. Yes, they
yes,
don't have the same policy.
1 year after the teachers are working online, they can find a good idea for this topic, about this topic. It's very, very interesting. Unfortunately, this is in English for they. A lot of people in Latin America don't speak English, but I am sure that I will try to translate.
Translate, exactly.
Yes.
And the template is for all languages. This is just ideas. This is what I do in my classes. And I have seen that it works, and it have worked for many years. Because every time I enter my classes, I try to pause and say, and ask myself, was I satisfied with myself? And every year and every time.
Yes, yes, it's the same. I think I was working as teacher, Spanish teacher too, a lot of times. And now that I at conference, I can to speak with a lot of teachers for different countries. I can identify this problem. It's in general. I think that is in in all the world, not only in Mexico or Colombia or Brazil. It's in all the world, because the teachers would like to be in the classroom again, but this is not possible now. Then we can have to find a good option for the students. That's all for the students.
So when you share this recorded material from today's conference and tomorrow's conferences, I'm expecting your feedback.
Yeah.
Expect if they had difficulties in incorporating it, or if they need another follow-up session, perhaps in the future, and discuss how it was implemented and if it was beneficial and to what extent it was beneficial.
Yeah.
That would help a lot.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Well, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your help, for all your information. Thank you for sharing with us all these great ideas. I am sure that I will share with all my friends in Latin America, and all will be, we can use it. Well, we to take 10 minutes, please, again, and come back with Esther Alvarez from Mexico. Okay. I see you in 10 minutes. Thank you. See you. Okay, thank you everybody for continuing with us. Now go to continue with our conference, and now it's the turn of the Esther Alvarez, PhD. She is from Mexico, and she will talk with us about exactly Mexico. Then, good morning, Tay, because all our friends tell her Tay, not Esther. Thank you very much, Tay, but to be with us today. And please start your conference.
Okay. Good morning for all. It's a pleasure to participate in this very important event to talk about my country, Mexico. Voy a compartir
We
pantalla.
want to share the screen. Okay. Listen now to Dr. Esther, please.
Thank you. My conference is Mexico, Color, Contrast, and Diversity. A few years ago, in a cultural exchange with the Dominican Republic, at the gala at the Theater of Bellas Artes in Mexico City. And the folkloric ballet of Amalia Hernandez, while the show was developing with great emotion and the dancers appeared, I showed with our guest. Look, that is the deer dance, and it is from Sonora. Those costumes and that music are from Tamaulipas. Now the dances from Colima come. That dance and those dresses are from Veracruz. Those dances are from Oaxaca. And that is the dance of the iguana from Guerrero. And now these music and dances are from Michoacan. Now the dances from Tabasco. On the dances and only miss the dresses of Yucatan and Jalisco. They are beautiful. And so I continued explaining while the artistic numbers continued one after another until one of the Dominican teachers with some impatience interrupted me to ask, "Hey Esther, how many Mexicos are they?" There is only one country, but it has a big diversity of costumes, music, food, traditions, and different realities. Mexico is colors, like its flag, green, white, and red. In the center of which is the national shield that represents its pre-Hispanic origins. The Aztec people, after pilgrimage for many years through Mesoamerica, finally found the scene of their god Huitzilopochtli to found their empire, an eagle devouring a snake. There on an islet in the middle of lakes, they founded Tenochtitlan in 1325. Today, Mexico City. Mexico is language diversity. In 1521, Spain conquered Mexican territory and occupied it for 3 centuries, inheriting Spanish as the official language. Currently in Mexico, 68 native languages and 364 variants are also spoken. Cultural heritage of indigenous people. It is one of the 10 countries with the largest number of native language in the world. Pre-Hispanic heritage. It's a large number archaeological sites of the different cultures that inhabited Mesoamerica, such as Teotihuacan, which was the first urban center of the pre-Hispanic era. Another very important pre-Hispanic people was the Mayan culture. His reading system was the most developed in pre-Columbian America. They were great architects. They created a numbering system based on 20, and which dashes and dots to represent the figures as well as a sign to represent 0. The Mayans were great astronomers. They developed 106.5-day solar calendar and 216-day religious calendar. Archaeological zones, pyramids, codices, sculptures, and monuments. Mexico has 35 registered sites on the UNESCO World Heritage List. It is the Latin American country with the highest number. In addition, UNESCO has recognized 7 expressions and intangible cultural heritage of humanity, among which the indigenous festival of the Day of the Dead stand up, the ritual ceremony of the Voladores de Papantla, Veracruz, the mariachi, and traditional Mexican cuisine. Mexico is located in North America. It shares a 3,000 kilometers border with the United States in the north. And in the south, it borders with Guatemala and Belize. It has 11,000 kilometers of coast towards the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean, with facilities trade with Asia and Europe. It is one of the countries with the most trade agreements in the world and the main trading partner in the United States, whose market directs more than 70% of the exportation. The Mexican territory has an area of almost 2 million square kilometers and occupies the 14th place in the world. It shows color and diversity of landscapes, capes, forests, volcanoes, deserts, jungles, seas, islands, and peninsulas, lakes, lagoons, and waterfalls, mountains, and beautiful beach that that we hope one day you will know and enjoy. It is a country of contrast, of modernity in the large cities and industrial centers, as tradition and color in its 132 magical towns. Mexico is the three country with the greatest biological diversity in the world, not only for having a high number of species, but also for its wide variety of ecosystems. Worldwide, Mexico ranks second place in reptile wealth, third in mammals. By the way, every day between the months of January and March, gray whales arrive on the shores of Baja California Sur, which travel thousands of kilometers from the Bering Strait to the warm Mexican waters in the Vizcaíno Desert Reserve, better known as the sanctuary of the gray whale. Another important migration occurs at the end of the year when monarch butterflies from Canada arrive in the forests of Mexico. Mexico also ranked 44th world place in amphibians. And the most fabulous and the more famous of them is our ajolote mexicano, a unique amphibian from Mexico that inhabits Lake Xochimilco in Mexico City. Mexico is a productive country. Is among the world's leading exports of automobiles and auto parts, tequila, beer, flat screen televisions, telephone equipment, medical instruments, crude oil, and minerals such as gold, silver, and copper. Despite despite the pandemic, Mexico has not stopped producing and exporting. It is the seventh largest agricultural exporter in the world, due to its production of avocado, mango, lemon, tomato, coffee, sugar, and red fruits, among others. However, is 2020, it lost a position in the ranking of the largest economic in the world, going from position to 15 to 16. Mexico is a country young. According to the census 2020, Mexico has a population of 106 millions as a population. Mexico ranks 11th place in population worldwide. Mexico undertaken major educational reforms in recent decades. Currently, compulsory education ranks from preschool to high school and higher education. It has important universities such as UNAM, positional among the 100 best in the world. Between 2013 and 2017, an educational reform was carried out with a curricular proposal which reformed the humanistic and comprehensive approach to education down the developed of competence, highlighting socio-emotional education in basic education as innovation. As the 2019, while the new government, the new principles and pedagogical guidelines for education have been proposed, the new Mexican school will be democratic, national, humanistic, equality, comprehensive, inclusive, intercultural, and of excellence. Currently, Mexico, in addition to raising the quality of education and ensuring higher education for its young people, has the great challenge of improving its public health as well as its legal and justice system, fighting poverty in rural areas and generate equal opportunities for its population. Thank you. You have the question?
No questions. Everything was clear. Everything was nice. I was just traveling, virtually traveling. Very, very interesting for me to know all these things. And I wish this COVID situation would end somehow in order to visit more beautiful places. Thank you very much for this virtual traveling.
Thank you. Thank you for invitation.
Here we have connected a person from Spain. Isabel, are you there? Isabel, are you there? Could you open your microphone, please? No? Okay, Santos, would you like to say something?
Ma'am, it was a wonderful presentation. And a few things what I learned here is that it's about a certain historical and geographical features about Mexico. That's what I learned from ma'am's presentation, and how Mexico, even in the time of pandemic, ma'am has given a vivid presentation for that. Thank you so much, ma'am, for enlightening me and every one of us who are present in this. Thank you so much, ma'am.
As I said before, you know, when you have the connection, with the virtual connection, you could travel with your mind, with your imagination for all around the world.
Yeah,
And
yes, ma'am. Yes.
actually, I am Ecuadorian, but I live in Mexico, and I think it's one of the most wonderful countries in the world.
Okay, okay.
Very colorful, very friendly, generous, with a lot of different places, with a lot of marvelous architecture, a lot of things to share. Something else to say, Evangelia?
Happy people.
Yes. If we travel to Mexico, uh, who is going to make the host there? I want some, I want guarantees.
Of course, don't worry, my dear. Esther has her house. I have our house,
Okay.
and like it's usual to say in Mexico, my house is your house. So
Okay, I have witnesses. Be careful.
you have a
Yes,
house there, of
yes,
course.
yes, Evangelia.
Okay, thank you very much.
My house is your house in Mexico.
That was a lovely phrase from you, coming from you. I mean, this kind of hospitality is rare, and this kind of kindness as well. Thank you very much. I will bear in mind.
You have also a tourist guide.
Yes, exactly.
But
Good to
you need
hear.
more or less 1 month to visit the most of the cities, the most important cities there. More or less 1 month,
Yes,
no less.
1 month.
Yeah.
1 month. If I stay there for 1 month, I will stay there for sure, forever. I won't be in a position to go back. I would love the place. This is what happens when we stay for over than 10 days, let's say. Then you love the place and you don't want to leave it.
Yes, exactly. And maybe we could talk about, because if you are interested to share different languages, for example, in this case, the Spanish, maybe we could have something like a scholarship for a student who wants to travel there and learn the language and stay with us without any problem.
Okay. Yes, there are many opportunities.
Yep.
Good to
You
know.
have,
Thank you very
you
much.
have
Mhm.
the house, you will have the food, you will have all the things. You just have to practice the new language.
Yes.
You have a welcome to Mexico, Evangelia.
Yes, I want to visit so many countries. To tell you the truth, I'm waiting eagerly for this COVID situation to end. I used to travel a lot, and I had in my plans to visit more countries when the COVID situation, destroyed all my plans.
Mhm.
When I will be safe again, I will travel for sure.
Yeah, sure.
I have many
Actually,
reasons
we
to
have
travel.
the contacts.
Mhm.
We have the contacts, and we are programming in English, in Spanish, of course, but we are programming more events in South America. We're going to have Congress in Ecuador in March, in April in Bolivia, in June or July in Argentina, in October in Colombia. So we are going to be traveling and sharing with the people. And if anybody wants to make the connection in Spanish, we are going to have the contact.
I think Elizabeth can send me all the details, and I can manage.
Yeah,
As long
sure.
as I'm, informed of these events, then I can manage.
Yeah, of course,
Good.
we are going to do it.
Okay. Good to know.
Evan-
Thank you very much again.
Evangelia, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank
Estas
you.
son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David. Hoy por ser tu cumpleaños te las cantamos aquí. The mañanitas in Mexico.
It's the most
Uh-huh.
popular song to sing when it's the birthday of a person.
Okay, I see.
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, pretty good. So we're going to have the break now to continue with the next presentation.
Voy a sacar una impresión de pantalla.
Okay, everybody, we are in back now. It's a pleasure for me to introduce you Dr. Juan Jose Gigliotti. Dr. Juan Jose Gigliotti is a neurosurgeon from Argentina. He is one of the best of them in that country. He is going to talk today about the loneliness, a very, very fantastic topic. Welcome, dear.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning for everybody. Good morning for Evangelia. Thank you for your invitation on this congress, on this conference. I share. You can see?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay. My topics for you. Okay. My topics is real or imaginary, the effects on loneliness. My brain, your brain, all brains, don't distinguish the real for the imaginary. It's a very good question, because when, for example, when you watch, if you watch the horror movie, your brain reacts feeling fear, stress, anxiety, inclusive crying. Another example, if you have an imaginary friend, you can talk, play, and hide on him. The brain reactions are equality to real and imaginary situation. For example, 16 years ago, you would have been asked how the earth was shaped. You would have answered it was flat 6 centuries ago. Science demonstrated that for picture, maps, cartography, they showed that the earth was flat. The science demonstrated with theories of elephant and gigantic tortoise held it. The common sense is agree at the science and say and large ships fell down on the edge of it 6 centuries ago. Science and common sense are agreed, had agreed, was agreed. Our brain accepted it, did not question it. The earth was at the center and everything moving around it. Flat earth and the sun moving around it. And the question, the common sense is, if the earth was flat, this justified the fall down things to the ground. Until Nicolas Copernicus in the 16th century, demonstrated refute this theory. And him say the sun was the center of the universe and the earth is flat, which rotate once a day on the axis. The question is, if the earth is flat, The question is, if the earth is round, how do the people don't fall? In 1666, Isaac Newton proposed the law of gravity. With these two examples, I mean round earth moving around the sun, law of gravity, the science and the common sense is agree. Modern science are based on the denial of the common sense. What we think is intuitive, obvious, and the common sense, many times it cannot be taken as true. What happens to ourselves then? The way of thinking, our mind, our behavior. We tend to executical, intuitive beliefs, common sense. No need any science for demonstrate that opposite attract. It's common sense. But it's true, birds as the feather flock together. It's true. Two self-evident true that they can be true at the same time. Self-evident truth that cannot be true at the same time. Are they three or are they four? What do you think? What do you watch? 4 or 3?
You could answer. It's a question for you.
Evangelia.
Sir, I could see 3, and also I could see both. I could see so 4 and 3. I could see.
And you, Evangelia?
Well,
Well,
how many I can see? Are they 3 or are they 4?
4.
No. For me, the way I see it, there is a trap over there. They are neither 3 nor 4.
Uh-huh. 3 or 4. What is true?
I asked again, do I have to agree with this? I mean, one of these is necessarily the correct answer, or is there any other trap that none of these answers could be correct?
No, there's no correct answer. You could say 3 or 4.
Okay, correct. Yes, okay, the way I see it, my interpretation, okay, let's say my interpretation. The way I see it is 4.
Okay.
Okay. It's true. 4 is seen more than 2. It's true.
Do you think if we have 4
what do you
eyes?
think?
We have to count the pairs. The pairs of eyes, first of all.
And it's true, many hands read the duck.
Read the duck. Uh-huh.
Do you prepare bread there in Greece?
I make bread. I have been making bread for more than 15 years. I'm an expert on that. Yes, I do. But I do it on my own. I never let my children do this because this is the result would be what I see here on the screen.
Yeah, pretty good.
For
Very
sure.
good. Very good. Okay. The next time you hear or see a scientific report that shows an obvious result, remember, the result was equally obvious, but it has been proven wrong. The science of the mind of the behavior is a full source of such example. It's obvious that in adulthood we become individualist and several. How did we get there? We are born and they take care of us. In adulthood, we achieve autonomy and independence. we become the king of the mountain, captain of our universe. When we look out at the social world, the other individual is same, different, independent, without forces to hold them together. It's not strange that that we forget that we are members of our social species. We are born depend on our parents so that our species can survive. survive. This behavior is repeated in all species. Even as adults, we are not particularly splendid specimens. Some animals can run faster, watch better, smell better, fight more effectively than us. Our evolutionary advantage is our brain, our ability to communicate, to play, to reason, work together. Our survival depends on our collective skill, skill, not from our individual mind. During our life, we are connected with each other for invisible forces, gravity, ubiquitous, powerful, animal spatial fusion, and spread beyond an organism. Structures that go from couples to families, to school, nations, and culture. These structures involve at the same time that neuronal, hormonal, and genetic mechanisms in which they support. Growing up to adult age for a social species, including human, we are not lonely. We become dependent on each other persons. No, we are not. Our brain and our biology have been conformed to support this result. David Sloan Wilson, evolutionary biologist, two decades, decades before, asked this question, formulate this question. What are the characteristics of a good person?
What do you think, Evangelia? What are the characteristics of a good person? The same to you, Santos. What do
Santos,
you
you answer first.
Santos?
Yes, ma'am.
What are the characteristics of a good person? What do you think?
My personal opinion in Indian context is that to be a good person, first we should be a man of principles. Man of principles, which stands for we should be ethically a very good human being, man. We should follow principles which are good for the society. And next, another thing is that we should treat everyone equally. No one is superior to no one, and we all are equal. So that is what I think, that if a person follows this, to in my perspective, he or she is said to be a good person.
Okay.
Okay.
Evangelia?
For me, first of all, if we see it ethically, what is right and what is wrong, actually, what is good and what is bad? That's one question. But if I had to answer that question, I would say that For me, I wouldn't give any criteria. For example, kindness or generosity or magnanimity, etc. But for me, a good person is the person that has a good relationship with him or herself, because only when we are not in war, we are not at war with ourselves, we can actually become positive and behave in a good way.
Okay.
This is my answer.
Let's see what the doctor says.
Of course.
He demonstrated that the good person is a nice person, generous, compassionate, emphatic. Bad person is cruel, beneficial, exploit, selfish. Good person, he cares about himself and for the others. Bad person, he cares about himself at the expense of the others.
This is a scientific study. ¿Qué quieres?
Corre la imagen. Nada más para allá. Está en cualquier lado. Okay, sing the art of aversion. Signs that are essential to our survival. Signs of aversion to brain. We have a series of biological mechanisms that get adversive things to motivate us to act. It's easy to take a lot more time and effort to get food. For example, low blood sugar level, alert to brain and eating. Thirst, alert to brain and drinking water is aversion signs alarm. The pain is it an adversing and alarming system that notifies potential damage towards tissues. Could you think that the biological alert machinery stop here? Only eating, only drink, only pain? No, this is more. Loneliness, brain and biology. Looking out to the social body is what we need to survive and thrive. Feeling enslaved from those who surround us is also a part of the biological air warning machinery. Loneliness, considered a non-chronic disease, identified with shyness and depression, with marginal social skills. But various scientific investigations and sophisticated calculation revealed that these were myths. When we are young, we want to achieve autonomy and independence. However, when we become adults, we need from each other to live. To live. Science and common sense, again, had produced two representations very different from a phenomenon. The prevalence of loneliness is growing around the world, ranking 10 countries with the highest divorce rates. However, we don't hear people say they feel alone because loneliness is stigmatized. Psychological equivalent to begin a loser in life or begin a weak person, unlucky person. Meaning that denying feeling alone is the same as denying that we feel hunger, thirst, or pain. Currently, we know that living in isolation is the highest risk factor for widespread illness and mortality. Is premature mortality rate. The mortality rate in the world is air pollution, 5%, obesity, 20%, alcoholism, 30%, loneliness, 45%. What happens to kids and adolescents brain isolate? The children feeling isolated presented these symptoms: anxiety, depression, panic attacks, frustration, confinement, excessive shyness, social anxiety, eating disorder, identity disorders, introversion, insecurity. Is grown up around the world, these symptoms. Is imaginary cold syndrome. Is a syndrome is growing up in the world. And children wait with anxiety call your friend or call your parents is imaginary this situation. Sleeping disorder caused by abuses of social media in adolescents, in teenagers, for example. Double click syndromes, when the children or teenager send a message and don't obtain response.
This is one of the most highest problems. These problems or these illnesses that is talking about now, the doctor, are most of the cases the situation with the pandemic, because we are inside the houses and we only have the contact by the virtual way. And if, for example, a teenager send a message and doesn't receive an answer, that's going to be a very big trouble for them.
Depression for Facebook syndromes. The not obtain the likes, sufficient likes in your publication.
Their publication.
And their publication. Okay. Google effects. Over information, bad information, good information is a very problem in the brain of the children and teenagers. The Snapchat dysmorphia syndromes. When take a picture, quiere parecerse, ¿cómo es?
Wants to seems.
Want to seems to actor, rock stars, different persons, beep.
All of these are the problems with the virtual system, the virtual connection.
Nomophobia syndromes. This syndrome is particular in the children and the adults. Depending this anxiety for not have a cell phone in your work, in your in their work, in their work, for example. Through our story, we have survived and thrived, making a common cause in couples, family, tribes, for the protection and the mutual assistance. This inclination of the brain and the biology towards self-preservation also trigger a process of social isolation, which is unconscious. When a person feels slighted, feels a motivation, a desire, an intention to connect with other people. What you do not feel is that your brain has been put in hypervigilance. That vigilance of constantly searching for the next enemy activate neurobiological mechanisms that can degrade health and leads to premature death. If you look for danger, you will most likely see dangers everywhere, whether they exist or not. Loneliness increased depression symptoms, which has the strange effects of decrease the likelihood of social conflicts. An acoustic, postural, and facial expression of sadness serve as a signal for the other to reconnect with themselves if they wish to do so. Loneliness increases the morning levels of cortisol, a powerful stress hormone. Its consequence is to prepare the brain for another dangerous day. Loneliness decreases quality and amount of sleep, increase sleep fragmentation, increase a number of microwave, decrease neuronal detox at night. The brain works on only day, all day, all day, all day, all time, all day, all time. If we think that life is a piano, genes are the keys and the social environment is the finger on the pianist who decides what keys to play and which do not. If loneliness is dangerous, what can we do about it? Hunger, fish for food. Thirst, glass of water. Alone, we don't have a pantry full of friends to connect. No online network can replace a friend's cares. Three connection components. First, acknowledge. What is the signal? And don't deny. Two, understand. What is does to our brain, our body, and behavior? Three, answer it. It's not the number of friends, but the quality relationships that reality matter. We can promote relational connectivity by simply sharing good time with friends or family. Collective connection can be promoted, we become part of something bigger than ourselves. If the obstacles to the connection seem invisible, consider volunteering for a cause you enjoy. For example, helping a needy person, volunteering of a museum, a solo that needs cleaning, a sport club, talking to elder people, etc., etc., etc. Share good time is one of the keys to connection. And don't wait. The next time you feel alienated, isolated, or excluded, respond to the sign of aversion as you were facing anger, tears, or pain. Thank you very much for your attention. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, we would like to listen your opinion about this presentation.
Sir, first of all, thank you so much for enlightening us. As we all know, this pandemic has made us to be connected with our family and with our friends. It taught us how the importance of not being alone, loneliness. It taught us how to be connected with everyone. Even though pandemic, it also taught us another big lesson is that life can change within a fraction of seconds. A single virus has created a rampant discourse in the life of humanity, in the humankind. So loneliness, of course, uh, also, of course, I also want to admit another thing is that pandemic also teaches another thing is that loneliness sometimes it acts as a medicine for us psychologically, sir. Sometimes loneliness acts as a psychological stress buster for for the people who are depressed to the core. But all the times it doesn't work out. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for your attention. Would you like to give your opinion, Evangelia?
Yes, of course. Oh, all right. There was a gap. Can you please repeat the question? There were some gaps throughout the presentation, not only now.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Did
you.
you like it?
Of course, I like it, and I like anything that has to do with emotions because they are interrelated with with a cognitive perspective. Because the way we think is the way we act, and the way we act goes back and somehow influences the way we think. It goes both ways.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
would like to invite to Isabel. She's going to speak to us in Spanish. I will translate it. If you want to do it, go ahead.
To translate the presentation, you mean?
No.
Oh.
Isabel is connecting from Spain, but she doesn't
Ah,
have a full English. So I said, if she wants, she could say something, and I translate it for you.
certainly. I thought that she had a problem with her microphone. That's why I did not understand immediately the person. Okay, of course, certainly.
Congratulations, Juan Jose. Wonderful presentation. Thank you. For Hacks from Spain. Okay, she's writing in the chat. And welcome to Proud. I don't know how to pronounce. So sorry if I don't do it in the right way. Pramod Pal. I think he's from Morocco. No? No, I don't know where is he connecting now. Okay. Okay, thanks for all for the Dr. Juan Jose Gigliotti from Argentina, a very, very nice country in South America, which is one of the other options to the students who wants to learn Spanish to travel there and visit us. Thank you for your attention. Now we are going to have a break, and then we have the last presentation for today with Santos.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are in back, and I would like to ask to Evangelia, who is the direct friend from Santos, if you could introduce him, please, for his presentation. Is it possible, Evangelia?
Well, I would say that the best way to introduce somebody is by asking him to introduce himself. Santos, the floor is all yours. You can tell us
Okay.
about yourself, anything you would like to. What I can say is that he's a very good scholar.
Okay. Uh, Thank you so much, Evangelia. First of all, uh, good evening. I'm Santosh Kumar from India. Uh, I, I would like to thank the committee members of this grand event for giving me this wonderful opportunity to give a talk here. And special thanks to my friend Mrs. Evangelia Vasilico from Greece. Thank you so much. And as usual, being a friend, I should wish you many more blessings of the day, Evangelia Vasilico. And to tell about I'm L. Santosh Kumar. I'm pursuing my full-time PhD. I'm from India, and the institution where I pursue my full-time PhD is Bishop College. It's from India, Tamil Nadu, and uh, and I have published uh, uh, and I have published research articles in the national and international journals. And I've also co-edited a book titled "Quality of Education in the Age of Globalization." And I'm an ambivert, and I'm a kind of a person who believes that education should inculcate good values in the society, and through education we can create miracles. As how uh, a famous a poet, I should not say a poet, a famous revolutionist, Yusuf Malala from Pakistan, she said that one pen and one book can change the whole world. So I believe in that quality, and that's all about me. And I think I will just straight away enter into the topic, into my presentation. Just a minute, please. I hope my screen is visible. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, Santos, it is okay. You may proceed.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Angelia. And my topic here today is that diaspora literature, a panoramic view. And what is diaspora? In other sense, what do you mean by diaspora? The term diaspora is used to refer to any body of people or ethnic population who are forced or induced to leave their traditional homeland, dispersed throughout the world, and forming a community in the land of their own choice. That is the exact definition or the meaning of the term diaspora. And the term diaspora, as all of us know, it had its origin from the history of Jews, where the people of Jews where they claim for their legitimate homelands. And in other sense, the term diaspora, partially it had its origin from Greece. And next thing is that the botanical meaning of the term diaspora is seeds dispersed. And I would like to register here the fact is that most of the academicians, so-called intellectual academicians, they often question this concept in literature, stating that people they migrate to another land for their own material benefits, for their own wish, and after being migrated to another land, and if they feel that they are being marginalized, or if they could feel a sense of alienation, then the problem lies with whom, whether with the individual or with the country where they have landed. And my answer to those people is that, see, after the advent of globalization, the world has become the world has become a global market, and transportation is said to be one of the easier modes for the people to migrate. and no one has a right to question that you cannot go there or go, or you should see in one's own country. It is not like that. Whereas these people, that is the immigrants, in other words, the people who undergo this diaspora sufferings, they are said to be the immigrants. And diaspora literature, it questions the unheard voices. In other words, what I can tell is that it attacks the government, it attacks the power structures. For example, how it attacks power structure, how it attacks power structures is that I myself from India, if I migrate to any other country and I have migrated to another country for my own benefits, and I cannot give up my own identity there, and at the same time, the country where I have landed, the country where I am going to stay, that particular that particular nation's identity cannot be forced upon me to follow it. It is the same thing. This thing is applicable to everyone. You can migrate to any other country. At the same time, no one has the right to indulge or to make you to accustomed to their cultural scenarios. It is not. It is something. I think it is something I said to be a cultural genocide. Even though this term might be a very rustic phenomenon, but the truth is that if an individual, if he or she is being forced to give up one's own identity owing to the political scenarios or owing to the political hegemony, then that is said to be the cultural genocide. And where is this diaspora? And why do people talk about diaspora in literature? Or why do people talk about diaspora all over the world? Why it is so important? See, as a phenomenon or as a theoretical discourse, each and everything matters a lot. And diaspora, instead of viewing it as a literary discourse, if you view it as a political discourse, then it has got a different multitudes. Through that multitudes, it showcases the unearthed, multifaceted voices of the immigrants. That is the beauty of diaspora literature. And diaspora can be classified into so many types. They come under the concept of homeland diaspora, trade, imperial, colonial, and homeland. If you take the concept of homeland diaspora, is that if you take the people who sprung from Australia, or even the people who sprung from Latin America, and even the people who sprung from the Sri Lanka. If you take the people from Sri Lanka, those the people who sprung from Sri Lanka, for them, most of their lives is said to be a do or die moment when they live in the war zones, and they think that it is being their own homeland, and people who are said to be the masters of the land of Sri Lankan soil, they are fighting. They are fighting for their own territory. So when the so if a person, if she lives in Sri Lanka, they undergo this concept of homeland diaspora. And I would also like to stress one more thing here is that homeland diaspora is applicable not only in Sri Lanka, it is applicable everywhere. And next, the trade diaspora. What do you mean by this trade diaspora? The trade diaspora, it refers to the people from African countries. As we all know, the history of America, where when they have colonized it, what they did was they just took the people from Nigeria and from African countries to the plantation crops, to the plantation fields, and to work them. Obviously, what happens is that when these people, that is the natives of the African and Nigerians, when they migrate to US, what happens is that they undergo a cultural phenomenon which is said to be a degrading one in terms of race, in terms of ethnicity, and in terms of their national identity. And why it is happening? Because the simple thing is that every king wants to become an emperor. They wanted to expand. They wanted to showcase their identity by foregrounding the territories which they have conquered. That is the thing. And next thing is that imperial diaspora. Imperial diaspora. What that imperial diaspora is said to be a person who used to dominate another individual through his or her own ideology. Here I would just like to quote Edward Said. Edward Said, a renowned Edward Said is said to be a renowned academician in the field of English literature, and he is known for his famous work Orientalism. And this work was published in the year 1978. And the crux of this work Orientalism is that Edward Said he boldly asserts the fact that there is no clash between civilizations, and there is only clash between ideologies. I repeat, in words of Edward Said, there is no clash between civilizations. There is only clash between ideologies. Whose ideology is supreme? That that plays a very big role. And the problem with these diaspora people is that they undergo a mental turmoil. They undergo a mental condition, and the landscape which survive portrays exact mindscape of how they are as how they are surviving and how they're going to survive in the future days. Another thing is that people of diaspora community, we cannot categorize particularly that this person belongs to this community. Only this particular group of people belongs to diaspora community. There is nothing like that. Of course, in the past, the entire world they categorized the people of Jew. They categorized the Jewish people as a diaspora because those people they are homeless. They were homeless and they claim for their legitimate homeland. And rest is history. And another thing is that very important thing is that every women folk, okay, every women folk in the world is said to be, according to me, every women folk in the world is said to be a typical diaspora. Women, they undergo so many cultural changes. Women, they undergo so many cultural changes, and in the Indian context, women they undergo so many cultural ramifications, even though they sprung from the same soil. To the women of diaspora, particularly in the Indian context, they have different traditions, and as we all know that women are said to be the custodians of culture, and they are the people who keep the culture alive. And in the Indian context, if men through women, a family reputation is being brought out. That is the thing. And another thing is that why do people migrate? What are the reasons for diaspora? Well, first and foremost thing here is that the economical category, and next thing is the economical category in the sense that people they migrate. The reason is that almost all the countries they undergo this concept of unemployment, whereas the career consultants of the renowned recruiting agencies, what do they utter is that there is no problem of unemployment in the world. There is only problem of unemployed. We do not find skilled employees for the particular work, so we suffer from the skilled employees. And obviously what happens is that if a particular person, if he or she if he or she is not placed well, obviously he or she is having a mind to migrate to another country, and for their material benefits and for the economical pursuits, and that has become the first and foremost reason. And next thing is that education. And as we all know, people, the academicians and everyone, they migrate to another country to learn some languages, and also to acquire certain degrees from a reputed universities which which comes under world ranking, which comes under the world rankings. So they just want to pursue their degree set, so they just migrate. And as I said before, the last and major reason is that globalization. It invites us, it motivates us. Come on, the world doesn't restrict you to be in four walls of your house. World is too big, and it invites the globalization. As I said before, the world has become a globalized market where it invites everyone to be to get into this concept of diaspora, and no one can be escaped from it. Each and every one of us is said to be a prey for it. And next thing is that diaspora, the important thing and the important interest, the important and the interesting thing about this diaspora community is that these people they feel marginalized they feel marginalized even in terms of their cultural nuances, and also their eating habits, even that too become a very big question mark if they migrate to another land. And even the best example is that there's a famous renowned writer called Jhumpa Lahiri, and she is known for her renowned work, interpreter of melodies. And she has written and that particular work, it's said to be a collection of diasporic feelings, as how the people from different countries have migrated in a particular landscape called USA, and how they undergo this sorry, as how they undergo this untouchable cultural phenomenon. Please mind my word, untouchable cultural phenomenon, as how they are being shocked. That's the thing. What happened is that in that particular work, there's a character called Mrs. Sen, and her native is from India, and she gets married to a man, and after her marriage, she migrates to USA because her husband had been working in a reputed software company in USA, and these people, both husband and wife, they have migrated. And what happened is that in the country called America, what they do is that they sell this thing called Indian fish. America is known for a fish markets. America is known for very standard fish markets, and every week they used to sell this thing called Indian fish. And Mrs. Sen, what she thinks is that when she hears the name, when she hears the name as Indian fish, she thinks that she has got a message from her home and homeland. That is what I can say is that food is not something what we eat alone. It is something it is somewhat closely associated to our hearts. I hope you people can understand this, because food is not something. Food is not something what we eat alone. It is what something that is closely associated with our heart. And I would also like to quote a famous quote here by Barry Comina. He's said to be a renowned ecologist, and his quote is that everything is connected to everything else. I hope you can get it. His famous quote is that everything is connected to everything else, and he firmly believes that as a human being born in this world, we are interconnected to everyone. We are interconnected to every phenomenon which is happening in the world, unconsciously and consciously. So just imagine, see, Mrs. Sen, she thinks that when she reaches the fish market, and when she hears that there's an Indian fish market, she thinks that fish is said to be fish is as we all know that fish is said to be the staple food in India for the people who sprung from West Bengal. And Mrs. Sen, she believes that by eating Indian fish, she has got some nostalgic feeling from home and homeland. That's the thing. And in terms of education scenario, what happens is that even in that particular text, what happens is that there were two Indian graduates who went to states to pursue their post-graduation degree. And what happens is that during the breaks during the break time, what happened is that their way of living and their way of pleasing others is being questioned. In other words, what we can say is that those two Indian postgraduates, what do they do is that they used to be normal as how they were in India, whereas their way of living, their way of showcasing their academic knowledge, their way of foregrounding the academic authenticity is being put into trouble. The only reason is that it is not that they are academically wrong. The academic ambience in the particular country forces these two graduates to get to undergo a paradigmatic shift. That's what. And next thing is that next thing what I just want to highlight here is that a very important phenomenon here is that pandemic. Okay, people as we all know, in terms of English literary scenario, nowadays the term pandemic literature has becoming a very recurring phenomenon. As we all know, in terms of pandemic, COVID-19 COVID-19 is a very triggering pandemic for us, which we are undergoing this. And before that, in the literary text, right from Chaucer, and before Chaucer, Black Deaths, there were so many literary scholars who have spoken about this concept of pandemic, and how human beings are being able to how human beings were able to overcome those pandemic sufferings. And this thing I just want to highlight here is that pandemic literature pandemic literature, people often think that if any person, if he or she is being victimized of a particular pandemic, when he or she pens any literary piece, there's though only those literatures, only those piece of text comes under pandemic literature. It is not so. Whenever there is any chaos, whenever there is any unwanted chaos owing to the impending political doom, there arises an unwanted, unconscious pandemic alert. And this diaspora and diaspora literature and pandemic literature, they both go hand in hand. And the academia is of the misconception is that they do not go hand in hand, whereas diaspora literature and pandemic literature, they both go hand in hand. Important thing is that, yeah, in the pictures you could see that these are the pictures of the migrant workers, from India. What they did is that when there was a sudden lockdown announced in India, what happened was when our prime minister announced it, there was a chaos in the minds of every individual. Everyone was shattered like anything else, uh, because the people who sprung from the below poverty line, their lives were put to threat for their daily survival and everything. They are being shattered like anything else. And what happened is that all these four pictures, what it reflects is that uh, the people, all these four pigs, they were forced to go to their own home only through walk, because the reason is that as we all know, when the lockdown was announced, almost all the public transportations, almost all the public facilities except the medical facilities and hospitals, every other thing was completely closed. And these are the people who just migrated. These people, they migrated within their own homelands. And the saddest truth is that when these people, when they migrated within their own homelands for their daily survival, or for their monthly survival, when this pandemic hits, what happened was, these people were not able to survive. The reason is that these people, they were economically weak, and also at the same time they were physically and mentally weak. And what happened is that these people, while they were just going by walks, what happened is that some people, owing to their mental illness, they have lost their lives. And and these people, they resisted the fact in the media, stating the fact that we have migrated within our own country, we have migrated within our own homeland, and the problem is that when the nation is undergoing an emergency crisis, there was no one to help except us. This is the plight of every diaspora people. This is the hardened truth of the people who undergo the concept of homeland diaspora. In other words, I would just like to quote a famous famous philosopher Martin Heidegger. He's the one who often says that homelessness is coming to be the destiny of the world. I just repeat the quote of Martin Heidegger, a renowned philosopher. Homelessness is coming to be the destiny of the world. And everyone in the coming days. Okay, I'm just saying it in a very positive sense. Even Heidegger, he mentioned it both in a positive and negative sense. According to him, homelessness is not only a person who is being migrated to another land. At the same time, at the same time, for him, homelessness is where a person feels that nostalgic touch. When a person undergo that nostalgic feeling, he or she is said to be the typical formlessness, in words of Martin Heidegger. And that is what and diaspora and pandemic literatures, both these literatures, uh, they go hand in hand. I said before, the three uniting factors, the three elements which connects diaspora and pandemic literature is that displacement, dislocation, and disjunction. Displacement, dislocation, and disjunction. When the world is being scattered, what happened is that people get displaced, and the outcome is that they go and they are being dislocated. And obviously, what happens is that everything at last comes in a disjunction mode. So diaspora and pandemic literature, they go hand in hand. And another thing I just want to highlight here is that a diaspora language, it is an emerging phenomenon. Diaspora, because in the past, still now, diaspora literature, it entered uh, it entered the academia in the 1980s, and and later people they started to say that diaspora had its origin in the Greek and also in the Jewish history. Whereas the term diaspora, along with that, the term diaspora language, it too got emerged in the year 1980s. And the impact of this diaspora language is that making language as a global medium to connect. In other words, what we can say is that language plays a vital role. Whereas in the good old past, in the literary text, it is only literature becomes foregrounded and language has become the backgrounded. Whereas in the concept of diaspora language, language has become foregrounded and literature has become the backgrounded. In other words, what we can say is that diaspora language is said to be a typical socio-linguistic study. So the I hope you can get it. Diaspora language is said to be a typical socio-linguistic study. Social linguistics is it is not about learning about particular culture, or it's not learning about particular culture or particular identity. It is about how the people of different regions, how they unite and how their language becomes globalized with everyone. So that is what diaspora language is all about. And on the whole, I would just like to conclude my presentation with the famous quote of Salman Rushdie. He is the one who often says is that home and home and homeland has become a ghost to everyone. Soon or other day, as we all migrate, there will be reasons for us to migrate. At that time, we could feel the essence of diaspora. In the words of Rushdie, home and homeland has become a ghost, and also in the words of Heidegger, homelessness is coming to be the destiny of the world. Thank you.
A well, nice, interesting, a very, very great presentations. Thank you very much, Santos.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
We are having a
Any
message. We are
queries?
having a message in the chat. It says, very interesting presentation. Congratulations, Santos. Thank you very much. Hacks from Spain.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, Evangelia, do you have something to say?
Not to add something, just to emphasize that what Santos says that diaspora and poverty, I think you said that they go hand in hand. How did you, if you can repeat this, I like the quotations very much that you used.
Pretty good. So this is the last presentation for today. We are going to continue tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have more speakers from different countries. We will connect with Brazil. Even not, we are going to have the connection with the South America, this marvelous and big, big country. And if you have any question, anything, you could write to the chat, or you could write to the pages of Nelkuali, which is in Facebook, and the language academic in which is the page of Evangelia, isn't it?
Yes, the English language, the English Academy of Languages,
Yeah.
from my side.
Pretty good. So it was a pleasure for me to have the contact to be in this connection, and we will see the next day tomorrow at 9 a.m., which will start with our friend Elizabeth.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving us the floor to exchange ideas and opinions.
Okay, pretty good. Thanks for your comment, Pramod. He said very informative for us. So that's all for me. Thanks a lot for the connection. I send you a hug, love and peace, and we will see tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
And